still have 70.
This weekend, I was like, don't let her surprise them because she still has their basket.
Okay.
Why do you think that?
They did, last week, they did, they had snow cones
Okay.
and had a snowball fight out there underneath the covering out front. This week they did s'mores. There was something else, I can't remember what Dad said. Something else, oh, cornhole. He's trying to get a cornhole club started over there.
I've seen him, a couple pictures of him cornholing.
Yes. Yeah.
I love
He's
it.
trying to get,
It's what he needs.
I know.
Oh, he's changed so much about it already.
Yes.
I need to get in and see them.
Wow, baby.
But I'm super happy with her. And yeah, she's
I
got
do wanna
one
see.
full week. They told her.
I don't love you anymore.
Being out there. Just.
Hello there.
Just a hot minute out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're already excited, they're planning for her big.
It was a threat. It was a promise.
Really?
Promise. Come here, Ward.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Not me either. Are you? See? Don't do that.
Oh, I love Rhea Ripley. Oh, she's amazing.
Take a piece of grape gum and go away.
That's fair.
Take a piece of grape gum. I bought one just for you.
Kimberly, this is my granddaughter Emma.
Hi, Emma.
Emma, this is Miss Kimberly.
Kimberly, how are you? Good. Good. It's good to meet you.
I don't like it.
Hey, dude.
Then don't add.
Time to get again? Yeah?
Because you want your friends to.
You charge everything.
Right?
I need to charge my brain. Does that
Right.
like sleep? Is it extra sleep? I'm not sure what it is yet. I
Yeah.
haven't figured it out
Good for
yet.
me, extra sleep.
Little caffeine or something.
Yeah, when you
Little
get-
concoction.
Because you should have the same level. Yeah.
You're not eating my phone.
Yeah.
Good weekend.
Yeah, Timberlake, they got home.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
We were at Sawtooth Mountains for a week.
Oh.
So, it was bad. I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
was there.
They just went for, they took a whole week. I was, we got these really stuff up there, you know, the finance. That I don't. I mean, the scenery looked beautiful, but I can't find it. So yeah, they left their hotel at 4:30 in the morning, and we got home at 11:30 last night. They had the day after today. So, and like a 4-hour layover in Chicago. I could have driven in pink jeans. I wasn't going to, but you know what I mean, like it was.
I got it to Don for a slide
But
as well.
it ended well, so they.
Just so everybody.
No, what first one's red?
It wasn't on you. You were just looking so around. Don't look above. Grab that arm that had that black thing on it. Fight you later. You're not gonna like it. You know what?
She was singing. She sings in the back. Morning she has. She got it from.
I'm pretty sure that I heard.
And Tim, hopefully last night from the mountains, so. Tim and Chloe were at our friend's baptism this morning.
I'm good.
So they're in church.
I was reading a prayer.
So.
Actually, quiet is nice.
We did real life while they were gone. Like, we still worked every day, and I already told them two-person running for one, you know? So, we didn't really have a lot of downtime.
I brought the King James version this morning. I'm like, okay. So,
Well, they got delayed in Chicago.
they're both.
I was telling Carter, they like left at 4:30 to get to there.
Because I've got.
And they
Yeah, and I texted those to you, and I've gotten some put on the screen, and at the end of the day, from the seat, I can just call out the next one, if you don't have your phone, or whatever. I've got you covered no matter what.
You would be more, you're more aware.
Yeah, they do.
Now, they come with left-handed, they come with left-handed scissors for left-handers. That's why you use the electric. Or battery.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you can come back.
She was weaponized scripture.
Good morning. All right, we're still in John 4. I believe you guys got down to somewhere around the 26th verse or somewhere in that vicinity Wednesday night from what I saw. So thus far in this chapter, we've talked or you all talked about the woman at the well and some of the interaction that took place there. And to the point where we're at now in the reading, right at the end there, Jesus does what? He reveals to her what?
That he is the Messiah.
Yeah, because she just got through saying that, hey, we're looking for the Messiah, we're looking for the Christ, and he turns right around and reveals the fact that I am he. I am he. And so with that in our mindset right now, let's go ahead and pick up the reading from verse 27 through, let's go down through 38. 27 through 38. Who would like to take that on? Go ahead.
At this point, his disciples came, and they were amazed that he had been speaking with a woman. Yet no one said, "What do you seek?" or "Why do you speak with her?" So the woman left her water pot and went into the city and said to the men, "Come, see a man who told me all the things I have done. This is not the Christ, is it?" They went out of the city and were coming to him. Meanwhile, the disciples were urging him, saying, "Rabbi, eat." But he said to them, "I have food to eat that you do not know about." So the disciples were saying to one another, "No one brought him anything to eat, did he?" Jesus said to them, "My food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. Do you not say, 'There are yet 4 months, and then comes the harvest'? Behold, I say to you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, that they are white for harvest. Already he who reaps is receiving wages and is gathering fruit for life eternal, so that he who sows and he who reaps may rejoice together. For in this case the saying is true, one sows and another reaps. I sent you to reap that for which you have not labored. Others have labored, and you have entered into their labor."
All right. So, what do we notice right off the bat about the woman of Samaria in this reading? What was the response? What was her response to all this?
We talked about how she basically left the whole purpose she came to the well. She leaves the water pot behind and, you know, goes into the city to tell these people. And we kind of talked about it, it's like maybe two different viewpoints, like doubt, like, is this really him? Or we kind of talked about how it was seemingly more of just like a proclamation of it's him, you know, come see for yourself kind of thing. So in her amazement at all this, it was almost just like, you know, if you found out news that you're just like, oh man, I cannot wait to tell Dawson this. I gotta call him right now. It was almost like I can't hold this in. I've got to tell somebody about it. So she's beelining it back to town and telling people about this Jesus.
Yeah. She wasted no time. Immediately she went off to share the news. So now going back to the disciples, coming back to Jesus and the well, what was their amazement? What were they amazed at?
Initially, that he was talking to this foreigner, this woman, but then as we got into this reading, it's about, you know, why he already has food. How does he have food? How does that work? Did somebody bring it to him? Because we didn't know anything about that, right? That's why we went to town, just to get food.
Okay.
Well, too, with Christ speaking to a woman here and them coming up, and just because, number one, to associate with the Samaritan, which was called out in the preceding verses, you know, even the woman's like, wait a minute. We're not a tribe that hang out here. So it was an uncommon conversation to have, knowing the history of each. And so it's kind of like nobody's going, wait, what's going on? Like, what's this conversation that you're having? Because it wasn't just maybe a normal thing. And so there's a little bit of amazement that nobody has said, what's this all about?
Yeah, I think it's more than her being a Samaritan. It's the fact that she's a woman. Why is he having this discussion with this woman at the well? Right? But immediately they're following then, in 31, meanwhile the disciples were urging him, saying, Rabbi, eat. Okay? What does that show? What does that show about Jesus Christ? Yes?
Well, it shows that the disciples are still thinking of physical things, and he's starting to introduce them to that there's a much greater meaning here. There's a much higher spiritual meaning to, you know, when he comes down and says the fields are white for harvest, between that and I have food that you do not know of. Like, he's introducing this idea that he's bigger than what they still have a very earthly view.
Yeah. But I think it shows the humanity of Jesus and how they saw him as a human being. Okay, what did we read back in verse 6? He was wearied from the travel, and he sat down by the well. Right? And so they're thinking physically, hey, he's worn out, he needs some food. And leaves, goes into town and gets the food. So their concern, as was pointed out here, is about the physical needs of the body. His response is what now?
Food you don't know about.
Food you don't know about. Okay. That would be a little strange response for us to hear somebody say. How are you going to live without putting some food in your body? Right?
Also, I think about with them journeying on, they were probably all in a similar situation. It's like, I mean, he sneaked some pigs into his robe and we didn't know about it. It's like, where was this on the way? It's like, how is this, right? It's just like, I thought we were all kind of hungry here. How did he have some, right?
But there's a theme obviously going on here. Talk to Nicodemus. What was the focus of the discussion with Nicodemus? Flesh, basically, versus the spirit, right? Isn't that kind of just common thread continuing on here? That now he's teaching his disciples, hey, you need to understand the difference between spiritual and physical. And he starts into this, hey, pay attention to me now. What does he say about what's out there? He says that he's to be after about his father's business, right? In essence. He's to be teaching and doing the work that his father sent him to do. And in essence, what is he saying to them as he goes on into this?
There's work to do and it's ready to be done.
There's work to do and it's waiting to harvest. You've got to pay attention. You've got to open your eyes. You've got to open your mind to what it is that I'm here to do and what you are to be doing with me and following after me. Open your eyes. Pay attention.
See, I really like the method of teaching here, because if I just go, oh yeah, pay attention. There's things that are different between physical and spiritual. It's like that's an easy comment to just let go in one ear and out the other. But he poses them with something that's perplexing enough that grabs their attention to stop them in their tracks. And that's how they learn. He's not just going to spell it all out for them. He's doing it in a way that they have to stop in their tracks. Because they're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? And it's a real learning moment through how Christ is teaching them. So, because I think, like, we all learn, I think, better just from the experiences, right? So if I tell Brady, oh, be sure to do this, be sure to do this, and then he gets into a circumstance where this thing happens, and now that comes full circle, oh, that's what you were meaning. So to me, I just like this method of teaching that Christ is doing, because it better sticks the way he's teaching them in this, instead of just giving them the answers to the test. He's making them study for it.
Okay. Is there an application for us in this overall view here of what he's trying to get them to see? Mike?
Sometimes I think it's good for us to apply it. Sometimes we need to be shaken out of our normal existence or our normal habits of what we do here by having someone come up to us and get our mind focused on what we really should be doing, as opposed to being too much like the world around us.
Okay. I think we can get so caught up in our lives, providing for ourselves, providing for our families, doing our life, living our life, the physical side of things, that we do not look for nor recognize the opportunities that the Lord lays in front of us. Isn't that what he's saying here? Pay attention. The fields are white to harvest. Why are they whitened to harvest as he goes on here? Why is that the case?
There's already been work that's been done.
Who did that work in this case?
Prophets.
I'm sorry?
Prophets.
The prophets? Who else? John the Baptist. A lot of work is being done, and they've sowed the seed, and now he has sent them out to reap the harvest. We don't have to be the one that takes everything all the way through. We need to see the opportunities that are in front of us and help someone where they're at, what they already understand, where they're at in life, and bring them to where they need to be, to the harvest.
On that application, if you take it back to the physical, is what did they do to raise or prepare the food that they brought back? They are reaping what somebody else sowed.
True.
They are taking advantage of and enjoying that which somebody else has done, which is also, another part of it is the enjoyment of that shared work. I think that's part of what he's saying here is like, he goes, one sows and another reaps, but right before that he says, and the sower and the reaper may rejoice together. Sometimes it's like, well, that's what they did, and this is what I've done, or we minimize what our impact is compared to others, and probably miss out on the opportunity to just collectively rejoice in the work of God.
Excellent. And it is a rejoicing when you see harvest happening on the seed that has been sown, whether you sowed it or somebody else sowed it.
Well, there's an urgency too, because you just go, let's say that hay stays in the field weeks beyond when it was ripe for harvest, right? Or that corn and soybeans is just sitting in the field beyond when it's ready to be picked, right? You go, it diminishes, right? There is a window of opportunity for when the harvest is ripe in the physical. And so I think that's another point here too, is these fields are ready to be picked right now. The time this is the perfect time. The fields are ready, so we've got to make do while the sun's shining. We got to get after it. We don't want to miss this opportunity and squander the work that has been done up to this point.
Good point. Good point. There's times that we don't jump in and do our part, which we are expected to do, and somebody may not get to the full harvest to that point because of that.
I just see a theme in this chapter of Jesus speaking of the Spirit when everyone else is speaking of the flesh. And I feel like one of the things Jesus is trying to get them to see is that there's not a separation between the physical and the spiritual. And so he's talking to Nicodemus about baptism, and Nicodemus is like, wait, so you want me to enter back into my mother's belly? Is that what you're saying? I need to be born again? What is this? And yeah, that is representative of something. Like God has given us all of these earthly things to remind us of spiritual things. And then the woman meets him at the well, and she needs water, and he says, I have living water. When we drink water, should we not be reminded constantly of our dependence on the living water and all of these physical things? And then the disciples come, and they want to feed him food. And he says, I already have food. All of these things are these things that we would consider like this deep separation between a physical thing and a spiritual thing. And Jesus is saying, yeah, remember where your food comes from.
Yeah, it's all parallel.
Right.
And he's like, exactly.
Yeah.
If
Is
you
that
don't drink,
spiritual
you'll
or is
die.
that physical? Yes.
Yes, the answer is yes, right?
So that reminds me, we heard Buddy Payne Friday night talking about science and Christianity. And one of the things he was pointing out, and he had all the planets on the screen, and he was talking about the different galaxies and everything. And he said, understand, things just, there was some writer that had the Goldilocks effect or something. I don't forget the name of the book, but it was, he said, now, every time I ask you a question, what's the answer? It's got to be just right. And so his point was, all these planets out there, you can't survive on. Why? Why can't you survive? Many different reasons, but one of the main reasons is there's no water. There's no water. You must have water to survive. And it's like, yes, living water. That whole concept all comes home to us. We have to have the living water. We have to have water physically. Interesting stuff.
Another part of that is the distance from the sun.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to have the light
Exactly.
to survive.
Exactly. Neat stuff.
Dawson, I love this too because he's giving us a tutorial as to how we can reach people. He's talking about the simple things that we see and we feel and we is around us, and that's how he's introducing these concepts to them. We can do the same thing. Okay, so it's harvest time. So isn't it a wonderful thing that God gave us all these wonderful things to be able to eat at the end of the year like this? You know, just those simple conversations to allude to and get to other things with
Yeah.
them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else on those verses? Let's move on and read 39 through 45. John, go for it.
Many Samaritans from that town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. He told me all that I ever did. So when the Samaritans came to him, they asked him to stay with them, and he stayed there 2 days. And many more believed because of his word. They said to the woman, "It is no longer because of what you said that we believe, for we have heard for ourselves, and we know that this is indeed the Savior of the world." After the 2 days, he departed for Galilee, where Jesus himself had testified that a prophet has no honor in his hometown. So when he came to Galilee, the Galileans welcomed him, having seen all that he had done in Jerusalem at the feast, where they had gone to the feast. They too had gone to the feast.
All right, thank you. So, what jumps out in this passage, these verses to you, as important?
The most important thing that pops out to me is Jesus, the title that they give Jesus, the Savior of the world.
Ultimately, yes.
Believing in a message that is given to them, and then they're able to take that and realize, oh, there's even a greater message that is given to them.
So I like it how it starts out. Many Samaritans from that town believed in him. Based upon what? Based upon what did they believe in him? I'm sorry?
A woman's testimony.
One woman's testimony. One woman's testimony. Is there not power in that? And a lesson for us? So they came out, all these Samaritans came out, and they asked him to stay. Why? There was a desire to learn more. There was a desire to know more about this Messiah and everything about him. A huge desire, all created by one individual who shared the fact that who she found. Mike?
I think verse 42 is really important here. Then they said to the woman, "Now we believe not just because of what you told us, because we've heard it ourselves." So there's power in hearing it for yourselves based on what she started with her testimony among all the Samaritans.
Right. So it basically, the fire started, the spark started with her. Then they came to the fire itself, and yeah, They could see it, they could understand it, and now, well, yeah, we can believe it for ourselves because we've heard it ourselves now. We don't have to take your word for it. And should we take a person's word for it only? Or should we go to the scripture and find out if it's true or not? Another good point. That they literally came to understand, well, not only her word, it's actually, this is the facts.
It just says that one person can make a real difference, and this is evidence of it right here.
It says verse 41, and many more believed because of his word. What does that say to us? What's the essence of that? What did they believe in? Simple answer.
His words, not necessarily the miracles and all that. It shows us that we can just preach Jesus
Right.
today, and many will believe.
Believe that he is the Messiah. Believe that he, just upon hearing his word and seeing that. I want to share a concept with you that I read in a book. And bear with me, as some of it I think is a little out there, but I think it really plants some thoughts in our heads that we need to have that can be applicable to us. This is talking about the Samaritan woman. Talk about a woman who could make a list. Number one, discrimination. She is a Samaritan, hated by Jews. Number two, gender bias. She is a female, condescended to by the men. I know you guys talked about that in her coming to the well, right? Third, she is a divorcee. Not once, not twice. Let me see. Can we count? 4, 5 marriages. All turned south. Now she's sharing a bed with a guy who won't even give her a ring. Painting a picture here. When this is added up, envision for a moment a person sitting on a stool at a bar at happy hour time. Living with her mad at a half boil. Because life is just not going the way she wants it to go. Husky voice, cigarette breath, and a dress cut low at the top and high at the bottom. Certainly not Samaria's finest. Certainly not the woman you'd put in charge of the ladies' Bible class. Which makes the fact that Jesus does just that all more surprising. He doesn't just put her in charge of the class, he puts her in charge of evangelizing. Think about that. Go get your husband. That guy you're living with. Go get him. Before the day is over, the entire city hears about a man who claims to be God. He told me everything I did. Verse 39. She tells them, leaving unsaid the obvious in her thinking, okay? That is, and he loved me anyway. He cared for me anyway. A little rain can straighten a flower stem. A little love can change a life. Who knew the last time this woman had been entrusted with anything, much less the biggest news in history? Why? Not just because of what Jesus did, though that was huge, but because she let him do it. She let him on board. She let him love her. She was a willing subject. Now, can you imagine meeting a person like this? What if you spent the time with that person that we described? He knew her history. He knows all of us. But yet, we prejudge people to share the gospel with them and to get them to go talk to someone else about it. We prejudge all that. We don't make it our mission to help them become a missionary, you might say. Found that an interesting concept to really put a different perspective on this, to understand, well, obviously the disciples somehow, some way, kind of had an opinion about who she was or what she was. Not sure, it doesn't say how they knew that, but obviously they had an opinion about it. So my point is, we need to take the time to look at and deal with everybody we come in contact with. We need to have our minds open, our eyes open to the opportunities the Lord lays in front of us. Thoughts? One of the things that I kind of noted about this is Jesus always knew his audience that he was speaking to. That would make us be a little bit more concerned about knowing our audience and how to deal with them, how to interact with them, how to talk with them. All right. Unless somebody has more to share there, let's read verses 46 through the end of the chapter. Go.
So he came to Cana in Galilee, where he had made the water into wine. At Capernaum there was an official whose son was ill. When the man heard that Jesus had come to Judea to Galilee, or from Judea to Galilee, he went to him and asked him to come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. So Jesus said to him, "Unless you see signs and wonders, you will not believe." The official said to him, "Sir, come down before my child dies." Jesus said to him, "Go, your son will live." The man believed the word that Jesus spoke to him and went on his way. As he was going down, his servant met him and told him that his son was recovering. So he asked them the hour when he began to get better. And they said to him, "Yesterday at the 7th hour, the fever left him." The father knew that was the hour when Jesus said to him, "Your son will live." And he himself believed, and all his household. This was now the second sign that Jesus did when he had come from Judea to Galilee.
All right. So in this reading, right off the bat, the first thing that just impressed me was, so he came again to Cana in Galilee, where he had made water wine, and at Capernaum there was an official whose son was ill. word spreads fast without the internet. They knew about it. They knew about what took place. Knew that the presence of Jesus was there. He heard and he knew he was there. So he came to him. So how do you see the interaction here between Jesus and this man? See anything that stands out to you?
I feel like the relationship of the nobleman being a royal official, lowering himself to begging, imploring, right, from this Jesus. There's a humility there, given his physical title in life, and he's begging, pleading for this Jesus to help him. I find that interesting. It takes some humility to do that, but then I also take the parent-child relationship and what if you knew there was this Jesus who could do miracles and he happens to be in town and your kid's on their deathbed, who wouldn't want to seek that life? I think, like Kim, you talked about with Tim's help before in the past, right? I mean, if you knew Jesus was in town and could have made all of that, wouldn't you have? You know what I mean? Absolutely. So we see though that, and then we get into, unless you see the signs and wonders, you will not believe. We know that was part of it, but I think any of us in that situation, regardless of title, would seek that help. And so then it's like, connect that physical and spiritual, like we've just been talking about, like the bread and the water. This is something that we all could understand.
Well, and what I find interesting too is the fact that it says that this is the second sign Jesus did. So the first one was water to wine, which is like not healing a person. So there was something special about Jesus and they knew it. They could tell just by seeing him because, I mean, I don't know about chronologically, but it says this is the second one he did. So they've not seen that before. But still, this man humbled himself and came to him and said, I know you can do this. So, and there was an urgency in him, even though he technically hadn't seen him do it, heal a human body.
I absolutely, but I see this, what we've been talking about, is this whole concept that John is promoting is, you all think physically. Everything you think about is physical. Food, health, life. Everything about it is physical. I'm here to tell you that this Jesus brings a lot more to the table than that. And so I think that's a very... So what do you think about this idea that he says in verse 48? So Jesus said to him, unless you see signs and wonders, you will not believe.
It made me pause and wonder, was he there when the first one happened or not? Or is this just hearing it from others that had seen it? And so now, yeah, come, I need you to come. He wants to see it for himself.
Okay.
When I saw that verse 48, I was like, right, we need the fleshly to understand the
Okay,
We need that connection.
yeah. I kind of see it as Jesus testing him to see where his faith is at, where he's willing to go with what he sees and what he understands and what he believes at this point. Because, okay, go on back home. Your son's fine. Go on back home. Right? And then he finds out on the way that, sure enough, he was healed.
I think that takes faith in and of itself to leave Jesus. To to trust that what he said is true and to go ahead and go.
Yeah.
Like, I would've been like, no, please just come with me, you know, just come with me.
Yep. Nope. Anyway, I think that brings us pretty much to the end of that chapter. And then we'll carry on Wednesday night then in chapter 5. Thanks, everyone.
Thank